Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. This is a show that reviews everything from Interview with a Vampire with Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas to latest, greatest craptastic movie like Beastmaster with Mark Singer and Rip Torn. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and the man whose favorite activities include coal padding, petroleum jelly, and a nude picture of B. Arthur is Ryan Black Glove Preston. This week we did Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and it was James's pick this week, so I think we're going to let him start this, talk about this irreverent film.
Okay, so this movie came out in 1977, sometime around October. It's really got no studio that really published it that's around today. This would be actually considered a B comedy.
Wait, you mean the advertising they had in the middle of the film didn't pay off?
No, of course it didn't. I mean, I would have bought $2 furniture. I mean, geez, come on. Now, this movie, it kind of is a precursor to movies that came out after it. I mean, the stylized comedy hadn't really been done this way before. I mean, this movie really wasn't pushed through by great actors, anybody with any type of acting skill whatsoever. I mean, when your best actor wanders through this whole movie with a parachute hanging out of his butt, come on.
Yeah.
You know, this movie really only had, 4 main characters.
And a sword.
The rest of this movie was pushed through by little snippets of, a tomato coming through and killing somebody. But they really didn't show any tomato killing, which I think would have made this movie a little bit better.
That was the one thing I was hoping for, because this movie didn't have this the suggestibility to people are imagining how a little tomato eats people. I want to see a giant tomato with just like a foot sticking out.
But a couple things about this movie that I like that they started off. The way they started this movie off is kind of in the way that, kind of paying homage to the old Hitchcock, The Birds. Which I think
they even said as much.
They did.
Sort of in the beginning.
I want to say, did any of you guys get the reference to Adam 12 or Dragnet?
Yes, I did. I got that. Or in the beginning of the movie, there's a lot of different things that, if you guys don't know any of basically the culture and the history that was going on or had happened. I mean, there was even a really interesting kind of snippet to Pearl Harbor.
Oh, that was hilarious.
I mean, but for this movie...
It's one of the first kind of reference type of movies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this movie was all about. And I want to this is how I was kind of approaching this movie. I'm not approaching this movie like it's good at all. I'm approaching this movie is as a groundbreaking movie that burst into a different style of comedy that hadn't been done that way before. That's kind of where I'm going at this movie. Now, I'm sure you guys are really wanting to rip into me about this one.
Come
on.
Well, there's a little backstory here. Is James isn't a particular fan of the 50s sci-fi like I am, and he threatened me actually said if you pick Forbidden Planet, I'm going to pick Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
I said any 50s sci-fi.
Yeah, any 50s sci-fi.
Any 50s sci-fi.
And
I didn't say Forbidden Planet exclusively.
And I can't not take a challenge like that and pass it down.
And I'm not going to back down from something I say.
And of course, it's just me over here kind of taking the brunt of both these things. Although I
thank you,
really
Lost Boy.
I had these memories of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and I wasn't sure if they were fucking good memories or not. And as it turns out, they were bad memories. They were bad. Either that or I was a very stupid child, either of which is very possible.
So now just changed.
Okay, hold on. I remember fondly.
I could go with you for a little bit as far as groundbreaking. Nobody was really doing that kind of spoof on a spoof of a comedy before, but fucking, I can't believe how terrible these jokes were. I don't care what year this was. I mean, the tiny conference room, literally you even said that the parachute being drugged behind him with a fucking sword.
Well, I think...
People walking in the sign.
Well, I think...
Bad Hitler. What the hell?
Well, Come on, you didn't like the Black Hitler?
I mean, that was the only part that kind of makes me still shocked.
Well, here's the thing. I think because we're 30, 40 years out from when this was made... I definitely think when this was made, this was more relevant than it is today. It's like watching Death Race 2000 now and saying what a great movie it is. I think back in the day this had a little bit more relevance than now. but some of the comedy was...
Well, I mean, even for a movie of its time, I mean, that movie was pushing a lot of racist and sexist comments, and you know what? Shut up about that little tiny war room. I enjoyed that part. That part still makes me laugh.
I'll bet you like the scene in Spies Like Us where they said "doctor" 45 times, didn't you? Didn't you, James? You like that scene? You thought it was funny? Doctor, 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 doctor. That was a 5-minute scene, James. I watched these guys crawl over tables, stick their ass in people's faces for damn near 3.5 minutes. That's way too long to run a joke.
Damn it! If I had to watch Trinity die for like 12 hours,
come on.
This 5-minute scene was not a problem.
When you got 16, okay, no, we're not going to go there. We're not.
Sorry.
You started. I'm not going there.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of us will pick The Matrix, and we'll talk about it later.
Eventually,
and our opinions on it.
We'll try to do a trilogy list or something like that. And we'll probably bring it up.
Hold on. Silent. We're talking over each other. I will say, damn it, you guys totally made me lose my point. I will say, I think this is one of those movies that if you're drunk off your ass or you're stoned, if you're flying like a kite, I bet this movie is fucking funny. But sober, there's only a couple of parts that are funny, like the end of scene where that tomato has those earmuffs. That's funny shit right there.
Okay, now hold on. I mean,
it's one of those things that I think today people make a party out of. They say, "Hey, we're gonna drink a bunch of beer and watch Attack of the Killer Tomatoes on a big screen. It's gonna be hilarious. There's gonna be 12 of us. We're gonna talk shit." You know, do like a Mystery Science Theater thing. But nobody. Like, I was sitting in my room watching this thing by myself, and it was just hard. I kept looking next to me, hoping there was a person there that I could bounce some idea off of. But a point I wanted to make was the three of us, and from what I know about you guys and watching movies, and I've seen a ton of movies with James, we're not the type of people who have a hard time kind of going back and not really like we're some kind of genius movie watchers, but we don't have a problem watching a movie as if in the 60s. Like, I understand context. Like, this movie was made in 1977, exactly. So I'm not looking at it with 2012 eyes. I can see the progression of movie making and things. I'm not a neophyte, I guess is what I'm saying. I could watch old movies, and so can you guys. You have no problem watching it and taking it for what it's worth and for when it was made and seeing the achievements that it made. This movie sucked in 77.
Okay, now don't get me wrong.
Well, hold on. I will say that James is close as to a masochist when movies go, because I've seen him sit through movies that I will never, not only sit through, I will never buy, I will never watch.
Right.
I've seen him sit through going, that was an okay movie. Wait, seriously? He watched Romeo and Juliet and Redneck Zombies all the way through.
And that's almost what this movie is a precursor to, is the Tromo type of movie making, just the expletive, really absurdist type of filmmaking, where you're just like, there's, you have no idea somebody's gonna die horribly, and it's gonna be a left turn of all this crazy shit. Yeah.
Well, I actually wouldn't compare this movie so much to Troma's and Wicked movies, because
it's like Trauma meets Mel Brooks. It's kind of what it reminded me of.
The thing I really wanted to bring up, besides the fact that, I mean, how does a tomato rape, and how can a tomato chase somebody upstairs faster than I can get up them?
Right.
Is the fact that, I mean, this movie had a budget of $90,000 in 1977.
And $60,000 was paying off a crash.
National Lampoon's Vacation, which came out shortly after this movie, had a budget of $15 million.
Whoa,
wait, hold on. I'm not done yet. I'm comparing this movie to 3 different movies, and one of them actually ripped off part of the storyline of this movie.
No, you said
hold on.
$150 million?
No. 90,000 is the budget of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. National Lampoon's Vacation was $15 million.
In what year?
I think it was around 84.
Holy shit.
In 1997, somewhere around there, when Mars Attacks, which is a movie that actually ripped off part of this storyline.
That movie sucks too.
Had a budget of $80 million. Okay. Now, when Mars Attacks has made $101 million, National Lampoon has made $61 million. Now, if we take off their budget that they had, That's $21 million that when Mars Attacks is made over budget. 46 million that National Lampoon has made over budget. This movie from 1977 to 1987 made $15 million. You take off the $90,000 of the budget. Which movie has made more?
Sure.
Now, my point is that National Lampoon gets better credit than this movie. When Mars Attacks gets better credit than probably National Lampoon, which is actually not saying much. But these are the movies that I'm saying that this movie was kind of the inspiration for. National Lampoon, I would compare to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes over Redneck Zombies.
Vacation is overrated.
I agree.
But they had to pay famous actors. Mars Attacks, if
Had famous
anybody
actors.
likes that movie at all, then it's overrated entirely.
I will say
It's
personally,
just as crappy as Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. But that movie had to pay for a really new style of computer-generated graphics and things like that. That shit costs money. And was that Tim Burton?
Yes, it
If I'm not
was.
mistaken?
for
That
which
was Tim
which
Burton.
one?
Yeah, I mean,
When
that
Mars
dude's
Attacks.
notorious for getting paid a bank of a load of money. I mean, he had some a shit ton of actors in there that
But
he had to pay.
that whole thing about
so
the
you
singing,
can justify that kind of thing.
the singing,
And that's when that was an era when studios were just throwing as much money as they could for this kind of stunt type of movie. But then you look at a movie like El Mariachi, for example, which is not the greatest movie, but it's $7,000. I think he made the original cut of that thing for, and it just shows what you can do with a small budget when you're talented versus quasi funny.
Wait a minute.
He
El
went there.
Mariachi.
He went there, right?
It was like that movie was made for like $7,000.
You can tell that movie was made for $7,000.
Of course you can, but you
I
can
mean,
tell
all
that
they
there
had
was
was a little
some thought and some
adobo
story
hut
and some
out in the middle of a
talent.
desert.
Sadobi.
It's Adobe.
That's somebody though who was able to sell that movie and then get money to make his essentially the remake of it, I guess, or
So this
somewhat of
is-
a remake with Desperado.
You know what it means? I mean, altogether, it means that shittier movies are just made more expensive nowadays.
All right.
But I want to go back saying that the one movie, because I think the vacation one I didn't like. I think the Christmas Vacation movie was a lot better. I think that was the better ones out of the National Lampoons.
I'm just saying that this was a style of comedy where you have little snippets of, oh, this kind of crazy thing's going on, this kind of crazy thing's going on, this kind of crazy thing's going on, throughout the whole movie. And National Lampoon basically had a set amount of actors, right, 4 or 5, right, and then the rest of that movie was pushed through comedically by extras, which is basically what this movie was. The same
lot
thing.
of extras.
Series of sketch kind of shit.
Exactly, little bits
And
of
the
sketch
characters
things
were
that they're like, oh, that was hectic. Oh, look,
Oh.
Timmy's being chased by. Sorry, we're
Okay,
talking over each other.
but
Go on, Ryan. We were just talking over each other. Go ahead.
You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say is, I mean, you get these little sketch comedy parts that, oh, Timmy's being chased by a tomato. Oh, poor Timmy.
Okay.
And that's like you have two people right there just sitting in this thing. It really doesn't have much to do with the plot except for, oh, tomatoes are going around and killing people. They never really explained how tomatoes were getting up and killing people in this movie because the guy got killed. But I mean, the movie, all in all, there really was no funny parts except for maybe 3.
There's a couple of funny parts, just random.
A couple of chuckle out loud moments,
Yeah.
but all in all, it just read is really hacky and like you're kind of like, it's one of those like you chuckle and then you immediately look to your left. Oh, nobody else saw you laughing at that stupid joke.
One of the parts I thought was funny, but it was definitely a '70s joke. Was the Russian or German lady that was eating the box of steroids?
Oh yeah. The Russian swimmer.
Yeah, the Russian swimmer. Some of these jokes are
Is that,
What?
Greta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these jokes are definitely you have to understand the context of the '70s to get most of these jokes. The Arizona sinking thing, the Japanese scientist hit it.
Yeah.
Actually, the thing I thought was the funniest was the guy who dubbed the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
That right there was the. Dear God, how many drinks do you have? I just keep seeing these things just going like this. I thought that the dub part was probably the greatest part of the thing.
But I mean, all in all, what I have to say about this movie is, of course, I enjoyed it when I was like 8 the first time I saw it.
Right? Yeah. My mother liked this movie and showed it to me. Oh, you like this movie? And I don't know what the hell she was thinking. She was probably 35.
But when you watch that movie as an adult, you're just like, how did I even find this amusing? I mean, John hadn't watched it.
Right.
John had just watched the cartoon that came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It was a series, wasn't it? Like a cartoon series? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cartoon series. Lord. And the thing is, I remember.
Well, I guess it held up with all the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Oh dear God, no way. I liked the cartoon as a kid, but so I hadn't seen it since, and I've been waiting. What the story goes with this is James and I and Ryan have been hashing the show for a while, and I knew eventually this was going to come up, so I kind of forced myself not to watch it, because there's a couple of times I wanted to see it, and then so when I saw it, I was excited, and then I was
greatly disappointed.
Actually, no. I got what I expected. It's a 70s comedy about tomatoes killing people. My favorite part were the pumpkins painted orange.
Well, I don't think they were actually pumpkins. I think they might have been pumpkins. I think they were just like... I guess they didn't really make things that big out of plastic back then,
my favorite part was... The other part was they were throwing these tomatoes at the Russian lady. Just, you seemed like that. Shoot, bat them, rush them. That part to me was funny. But overall, this is exactly what I expected. I personally, for me, I give it a 1, maybe a 2. I'll give it a 2. I'll be nice.
I mean, a 1 is that there is absolutely no redeeming factor. It's just horrible.
This is the movie that if you have nothing better to do, sit down and watch with a friend and just make fun of
Drink
it.
heavily.
Yeah, take a shot every time you see a tomato. You'll laugh.
It's a drinking game. It's a drinking game movie.
Well, every
time big hacky death, you drink.
Yeah, but if
hammered by the end.
If you do make a drinking game, you've got to, define the rules, because if you just drink every time you hear a bad line or a tomato, you're going to die before the movie ends.
Alcohol poison.
Yeah. So every time you see a tomato, take a shot, but don't quote me on that.
So, yeah. Old Guy Tech TV and Real Flix Reviews is not responsible for your premature, imminent demise via alcohol poisoning or any other means of death. So I give this a 2. I give this a 2 out of... So I give this a 2 out of 5. James, what did you give this irrelevant, you know what I mean, comedy?
I mean, I got fond memories of it as a kid. Like Ryan said, I don't know why. I have no idea why I have fond memories of this as a kid. But
you grew up in a log cabin. Anything would have been fun.
I do have those, but I mean, a 2 is little or no redeeming factors. So that this movie falls into the 2 category because there's really very, very little, if any, redeeming factors about this movie. So it's got to be a 2. There are some parts that I will say I chuckled at. I will not cop to chuckling at those because that is very un-PC of me. So I will not say what parts, except for there might be a little jap in the air. But...
The 30s are calling. They want their joke back.
Is Ryan frozen?
No, I'm frozen in shock. Maybe because it's pretty rare that I'm gonna have to be the asshole in
and
this
go
show.
with a 1.
Most of the time, I'm the one with a little bit of like oh no, I appreciate what the filmmaker. I understand maybe where he was coming from, or you trying
heck
to.
no, I have no idea where this filmmaker was coming from.
This is because we're not doing any points, and even if it was, it'd be like a 1.2, but this is just a 1. I can't... Any time that I laughed at this movie, immediately after, I felt ashamed. So I can't justify giving this any higher than that. I mean, if you guys want to...
Wait, hold on. You gave Super a 4, and this a 1. Something in there doesn't balance out.
Okay, look, Super, I'll retract slightly by saying that it wasn't made for everybody, and maybe I was being a little too like everybody should love this movie because I did, and maybe it was a little kind of presumptuous of me, but it just fell in with kind of what I like about movies, that kind of thing, and if it was made for everybody, then it would be the Avengers. So Not every movie can be equal parts amazing to every person.
So
I mean, is that you coming back and saying, I'm sorry, I'll give it a 2?
No, hell no. I love it. I give it a 4.
Yeah,
but
see,
if you didn't like it as much as I did, I can't begrudge your opinion. That's all I'm saying.
It's set in stone. Unfortunately for him, it can't go away. So I give it a 2. James give it a 2. And Ryan gave it a respectable 1, which I totally understand. Don't know if I completely agree with, but I totally get it. It does make sense.
No, I gotta say this. I mean, honestly, I would give it a 1 with Ryan. I would join him in there, except for the fact that, I mean, like I said, in the rating system that we have, there's little or no redeeming factors.
Right,
I would say this one. Hold on, let me finish. The reason why I'm giving it a 2 over a 1 is the fact that there is a slight redeeming factor in the fact that there's some stuff that you can appreciate as far as like the comedic value of that. It was a trailblazer in that sense, and there's some things that they said in this movie that you can't get away with now.
Oh, totally. No.
And that's where I found that it was humorous to me. That's where I'm saying that's where that
Family Guy nowadays.
Yeah, that's where I'm saying that for me is that's where I see a slight redeemingness in it, is the fact that they pushed the boundaries quite a bit in there. So that's why I give it a 2, because I can find a little bit of redeeming in there. If that wasn't in there, this would be like absolutely I would go below a 1.
I mean, a one for me personally is really kind of like go to the theaters, pay the $30 to get the ticket, and then walk out halfway through. That to me is a 1. By the way, I never do that. I'll slog it.
No, I never do also.
I think there's only one movie I didn't finish.
And for
Jurassic Park 3.
No, I finished that one.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I did too.
Wow.
But you see, so for me, I never walk out of theaters because at this point in time, if I'm paying for it, I've got to sit through it.
I can't remember what movie I turned off.
This one, I think I might try to leave halfway through or before the halfway mark to see if I can get my money back.
Well, there was a point.
Just spark another bowl, you'd be fine.
There was a point in this movie that I was like, could you just be done?
Yeah.
I remember specifically thinking that because I'm watching this with my wife, and I'm like, I am going to regret this. Can this movie be over now? Because this is going to
decisions on the couch.
Never mind the couch. He was stuck in the kennel.
Really?
Which this is to kind of end of the review.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
This particular movie was an hour and 23 minutes, and that shocked me because I swear to God this was
27.
Well, here it says 23, but I swear to God it was a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie's pacing was slow.
Yeah.
And so to the end of this show, Brian has some movie news to talk about since we're going to start... Oh, God. I'm going to start talking about things that interest us or just particular movies that's like, oh, I can't wait. So what's...
Well, I basically compiled just sort of just kind of an update list or little bullet points of things that I've been interested in and things that I'm following lately. Looks like The Hobbit is going to premiere at Comic-Con this year, San Diego 2012, along with Iron Man 3 and Django. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Django Unchained.
Django. Wait. So the whole Hobbit or just the...
I'm not sure if they're going to be premiering the whole thing or just maybe like a half an hour just to for the but it's going to be in Hall H, which is the biggest hall that they have at San Diego Comic-Con. So it's going to be for thousands of people. So they might do a good chunk if they don't do all of it.
Do you know what version they're going to show? Because I've heard
it's going to be a two-parter, and this is I believe called The Hobbit, like The Incredible Journey or something like that. To start it out, and then they're going to do
The
part
Hobbit
2.
Holiday.
Right, yeah, like I think that's what it's called.
Well, here's my question, because I've heard that I heard it was filmed in like 40 frames a second or some random frames per second. I was wondering, do you know which one they're going to do?
I'm not sure, but whatever they do, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be up in the ante from the last one, because this movie is one of those that has been announced. Like a few years ago, it was announced to come out in a couple years, and then it was delayed, and then delayed again, and then now I think they feel they've got everything right, everything's sort of coming together. And I think the guy that's playing the Hobbit is was also playing Watson in the BBC version of Sherlock.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't from that, and I really liked his character in that, and he is a pretty short guy, so I don't think they're going to have to do a whole lot of work, putting him next to tall actors and things. So
I've also heard that Iron Man 3 is supposed to be the one with the extremists or something like that. It's the one where Iron Man can control the armor via his mind.
Okay.
Yeah. He's got the little thing that goes over his head.
According to what I read, something's escape, and then he injects something into himself. If you follow the comic book, I loosely actually read up on this the other day.
Okay.
It was about that, and allegedly MODOK is going to be in it.
Oh, right. Okay. I hadn't read up on any.
I think that's what the hinting was in the previous.
I can't wait to see how
in
they
Avengers
do that giant Tubbo human.
Yeah.
What other things did you have? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Well, some summer movies coming up. I know everybody's looking forward to Dark Knight Rises. Amazing Spider-Man's coming out. Ted just came out this last weekend and is doing pretty good gangbusters in the theaters. Also, I'm looking forward to Savages, which is Oliver Stone's new flick.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't heard too much about it, but what I have heard seems wicked interesting.
So what do you think about the new Spider-Man? I mean, because
you know what,
Sorry, I was going to say, because it just came off for the 3 Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire,
right?
At the last 5 years or something like that was made, and then now they're rebooting it again with a whole new actor, and instead of Mary Jane, they're bringing his original girlfriend from the comic book.
Yeah.
So what do you think overall? I mean, do you want to see it?
It's interesting to me when they're doing remakes like this within that certain frame time of like it's only been a couple of years, especially like they did with the Hulk. But that was almost immediately after that they redid the Hulk. But it was
because that was really bad.
It says 2 things basically to the fans: is oops, and we think we got it right this time. So I don't think they're saying oops to the first set of Spider-Mans. I think they're sort of saying like, hey, this is going to be another version of it, and coupled with this is just a really easy way to make money, especially for an opening box office. Weekend.
Spider-Man 2 and 3, and the fact that he didn't have web shooters in the first one, they need to apologize for all that. I mean, they need to
start
fix
that kind of mythology with the first one. So I think that's part of the reason they're going to reboot this type of series, because he does have the web slingers.
Yes.
It is a little more kind of in line with the original set of comics and things like that. So it's got a little more bringing back in the original comic book fans.
Well, here's my kind of thought. I could be wrong, but I understand why they didn't do the web shooters, because I think those sets of comic book movies were not made for fans. They were not made for people like us who
it's
read.
Too hard to explain to people.
It weren't for people who read the comics, who know the canon of the story,
right?
Who are really peeved at small non-canon stuff.
Right.
So because they got to introduce who Spider-Man is. That that's what I think it is.
Well, I mean,
a lot of motivations have to go into the first act of that movie, and you can't have the first act be 4 hours long. So,
Well, I mean, they went and actually showed Batman making his own toys.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean,
that came after Spider-Man, but still.
Right.
Well, here's the thing.
But with Batman, the obligatory training scenes is almost what I wanted to see that movie for in the first place.
Exactly.
Well, I personally think with Batman, and maybe it's because I'm biased because I think Batman's the greatest superhero ever. If you don't believe me, if you don't agree with me, you suck.
Email him.
Right? No, absolutely suck.
But so
I can give you his personal.
So I think what it is, I think it's the difference between. Everybody knows who Batman is. I mean, I know everybody knows who Spider-Man is, but there's been a bazillion bad Batman movies.
Sure.
If you don't
believe
me, watch the one with was it the Silverstein?
You're talking about Joel.
No, it's the chick who played Batgirl.
Oh, Batman and Robin with Silverstone.
Silverstone. I was like Silverstein.
Excuse me.
You could have just said Arnold.
That they ruined Mr. Freeze.
Oh God, yeah. I don't think there's any redeeming on Mr. Freeze after that.
So
the best Mr. Freeze was obviously in the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. So I think because so I think that's what it is. I think with Spider-Man they can get away with a little more, or maybe not. I don't know.
I gotta say, out of all the stuff you brought up, I mean, I am really looking forward to Dango Unchained.
Same here. I agree.
I really want to see how they turn this Spider-Man into whatever they're going to turn it into.
Right.
I'm kind of excited to see that, but I'm reserved on that one because I mean,
Sure.
the
I'm looking
Spider-Man 2 and 3, the ones that came out with the Tobey Maguire. I mean, those were just like throw up in your mouth movies. And if they screw up The Hobbit, they just need to be hung. I mean, that's all there is to it.
It's
nothing. Just we make gallows and hang them.
Well, the movie's going to be 2 or 3 hours, and it's going to be 2 movies. You can almost do the book verbatim in 6 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
right.
I had read the books in order. I had read, The Hobbit, then the Lord of the Rings series. So I enjoyed it. The thing I had
the 70s cartoon of The Hobbit, that thing was the Mac.
I agree. I like The Hobbit, but James hates it. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
No,
okay,
I mean, that's just my own thing. I mean, I didn't enjoy 70s cartoons. I didn't.
That's fine.
I just don't enjoy it.
Okay, total side trip. What do you think of the Lord of the Rings rotoscoped acid flashback cartoon?
What?
The Lord of the Rings cartoon. You know, the rotoscoped acid flashback?
You never saw that one? You
No.
watched The Hobbit, but you never watched the Lord of the Rings one?
You know what? The Hobbit was bought for me by my uncle back in the day because he was a fan, and then I only ended up reading the books of Lord of the Rings before I saw the movies.
So
Yeah,
I never
I saw the
Rotoscope.
cartoons after. Yeah. Oh man, those
wow.
are bad.
you got to see it. I mean, I'll never do that ever on the show because I don't want to see it again. But
Sure.
if you want to see a movie that's guaranteed to give you flashbacks, even if you've never done acid, this movie will do it.
Yeah. Some of those are kind of a chore to go back and watch.
So
Yeah.
So we'll say next. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to wrap up the
Okay.
the news. I have a list that's going to piss off James something fierce.
Okay, continue, please.
Basically, in with all of these movies I've just listed, The Hobbit, Iron Man, let's see, Dark Knight, Amazing Spider-Man. Those are all either remakes or redos or sequels. So I found a list of sequels or remakes that is coming out in the near future.
They are remaking Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, just to mention that.
Oh, good God! But this is just kind of a small section of the pie of what Hollywood is doing to everything. Movies that are currently being remade. Dread, as we all know, is the
I knew that. I actually want to see that.
Me too. Red Dawn, which also I want to see.
What was that last one?
Red Dawn, the Patrick Swayze flick from the 80s. The remake of the Wolverines taking over the what was it, the Russians and the Mexicans?
I think it was Mexicans. I think it was...
They're remaking Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Cares. Akira, which, the hell?
Wait.
Live action?
Yeah, this
Live action, apparently, is what I'm understanding. They're remaking Carrie, Child's Play, Evil Dead, Mad Max, Pet Sematary, Point Break, The Birds, The Crow, and Barbarella.
And don't forget about RoboCop, Total Recall.
Well, Total Recall is pretty much almost out. RoboCop they've been talking about doing for years. I'm waiting to see if that actually ever gets made or if it's just getting pushed back.
Here's the thing that I've heard about, because we're almost out of time. Here's the thing I've heard about.
Pet Cemetery?
Yeah.
Hey, I want to see a remake of Phantasm. That's what I want to see.
Did you say Carrie, too? Did you say Carrie?
Yes, he did.
And I did say Mad Max, but I don't know if it's
Why don't they just throw in Ginger Snaps, too?
Ginger Snaps.
Cat people!
Or People of the Corn 5,823.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
They're remaking Children of the Corn as well. Did I forget to mention that?
Yeah,
no,
you did.
you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
they're remaking Children of the Corn.
So basically, all the movies from the 80s that A, I've seen, B, I almost will admit I like or don't want to see are being remade.
Right. Anything that you partially remember being a title of something back in the 70s or 80s, it's going to be done.
Which is going to suck because instead of getting an R rating, they're going to be PG-13.
Of course.
Or G.
So next week is Mr. Glove's pick. So
I hope it never sticks.
So what's your
what she said.
movie pick for next week?
Did you just try it? That's what she said,
Yes,
Joe.
I did.
God. I was going to let it go, but it just... didn't sit right.
It didn't stick.
Oh, I don't want to say. Oh man, you just gave me like three more.
Okay, the movie I'm picking for next week is called Buffalo 66. Now, I'm picking this for a couple of different reasons. One, I haven't seen it in years. Two, it's one of those sort of quintessential indie movies that kind of had a huge life on DVD and VHS after the fact. It was made by Vincent Gallo, sort of written and directed, and also starring Vincent Gallo and Christina Ricci.
Yeah, there you go. I was trying to think of who else it was, too.
Wait, what year was this made in?
It couldn't have been, I want to say 95?
I was thinking 94.
So was this
hold on.
Was this between like Addams Family and Casper, between that era?
She was
Holy
older
cow,
than Casper.
98.
98. Okay, so there you go.
I think it's around the Casper time. So
she was definitely older than Casper. She was she must have been maybe 19 or 20.
Yeah, I think that.
But yeah, she was definitely, like a woman actor. She wasn't still a kid or anything. But it's kind of a bizarre flick, really, really indie, dark comedy, but more just strange circumstance than any kind of like comedy. So I'm interested to see what you think, John. And I know, James, you've probably seen this already. So
yep.
We haven't seen it in a while, and neither have I. So let's watch it again.
Yeah, I haven't probably seen it since about 2000 or 99.
Yeah, sure.
I've heard of this, and I'm not sure why I've heard of this movie.
It's one of the first ones that really became like this movie was made for $50,000, and it became like one Sundance Award and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good. If I remember right, I mean, I did enjoy it. So
well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm one of those self-confessed fans of Christina Ricci for some reason because she's done some horrible movies, but I happen to like her. Especially the movie Speed Racer.
Yeah.
She's the only living person who looks like a cartoon.
I can go with you on that one.
I love you, Christina. I swear.
And he is single.
I'm sure she's listening.
Right. For Jonathan Charney, James Preston. For Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and the man with a slow hand, Ryan Black Glove Preston. See you next week.
This episode of Old Guy Tech TV is brought to you by Ward's Automotive, specializing in Banks Power and Pack Brake, servicing your car or truck and specializing in diesel engines. Over 30 years of service, located in Diamond Springs, California. Give them a call at 530-626-5588.